Dear learners, welcome. I'm Prabhakar Panzade, Department of Pharmaceutics, Srinath College of Pharmacy, Aurangabad. In this session, we will see Introduction to Solubility and Solute-Solvent Interactions. After this session, the learners should be able to understand the concept and meaning of solubility, the importance of solubility, the various ways to express the solubility, and the different mechanisms of solute-solvent interactions. So let us begin with the introduction to the solubility. We can take a simple example to understand what do you mean by the solubility. Just take small amount of any solute like sugar or sodium chloride and add into the some quantity of solvent. Now as we have added that solute in the solvent randomly, we do not know what is the concentration of a solute which is present in that solvent. If we determine the concentration of a solute present in a solvent, that concentration is nothing but the solubility. So in that way, we can define solubility in a quantitative manner as concentration of a solute in a saturated solution at a certain temperature. As the temperature affects the solubility, that's why we have to mention the temperature at which the solubility is determined. So simply, it is a concentration of a solute in a saturated solution at a certain temperature. In another way, that is qualitatively, we can define solubility as a spontaneous interaction of two or more substances to form homogeneous molecular dispersion. Now, when we say the solute is soluble in the solvent, so obviously it will lead to the formation of a homogeneous molecular dispersion. The solute will completely become soluble into the solvent, and that will lead to the formation of a molecular dispersion. So that is another way to define the solubility. Now we'll see some terminology which are associated with the solubility. The first one is saturated solution. If we add the excess quantity of a solute in a solvent, then at certain point you will find that the solute does not become soluble into the solvent, or solute is not dissolved into the solvent. You can find out the solid phase in the solvent, or you can find out the particles of the solute in the solvent. So that state is known as a saturated state, and the solution is called as a saturated solution. So we can say that in saturated solution, the solute in solution is in equilibrium with the solid phase. In another way, why there is a saturation? Because the solute which is dissolved and the solute which is undissolved, there is an equilibrium between these two phases. That's why there is a saturation. After saturation, if we add the solute further, it will not become soluble or it will not dissolve into the solvent. So that solution is known as a saturated solution. Simply, you can prepare the saturated solution by adding the excess quantity of the solute into the solvent, and just find out the point at which the solute does not become soluble. So that state or that solution is known as a saturated solution. You can understand the concept of solubility with the help of this diagram. We have added the solute in the solvent. When there is an interaction between the solute and solvent, there is a formation of a solution, means the solute will become soluble into the solvent. So we can simply observe the simple concept of solubility with the help of this diagram. Now after saturated solution, the another solution is an unsaturated solution. Obviously in this solution, the solute is present in less quantity than required for the saturation. That's why it is known as an unsaturated solution. For example, if 1 gram solute is required for saturation, so in this case only 0.8 gram or less than 1 gram solute is present. That's why it is known as a unsaturated solution, because the solute is not sufficient to make the solution saturated. So this solution is known as an unsaturated solution. The third type of the solution is supersaturated solution. In this case, the solute is present in excess quantity than required for saturation. Let us say 1 gram solute is required for the saturation. So in this case, greater than 1 gram quantity of a solute is present in the solution. So that's why it is known as a supersaturated solution. Hence, in another way, we can say solution containing excess dissolved solute than required for saturation, that is known as a supersaturated solution. After these terminologies, we will see what is the importance of the solubility or what are the applications of the solubility. Now, as we know, solubility is a important physico-chemical property of a drug or any substance. So the solubility of a drug or solubility of a substance is very essential for many processes. For example, if I want to manufacture any dosage form, the prior knowledge of the solubility is required. You must know what is the solubility of that particular drug, so that we can go for the preparation of appropriate dosage form. So knowledge of the solubility is required in order to manufacture the dosage form. If you know the solubility, depending on that solubility, you can go for the preparation of a particular dosage form. So in the manufacture of the dosage form, the knowledge of the solubility is essential or it is required. For example, if the drug is completely soluble or some drug is sparingly soluble, means some drug is having the greater solubility in water or some drug is having the less solubility in water. So depending on that information, we can go for the preparation of the appropriate dosage form. So that's why there is a need to study this solubility. The second important application of the solubility is absorption of a drug. Absorption means when we take any drug, the movement of that drug from the site of absorption, generally when we take drug orally, that is a GI tract. So movement of drug from the site of administration into the systemic circulation or the blood, that is known as absorption. And in the absorption of dosage form which are taken orally particularly, the solubility is required. If the drug becomes soluble, then it will dissolve, and if the drug dissolve, the drug will be released or drug will be present in the solution form. Then it will go into the systemic circulation. It is also said that one of the important requirement for solubility of for the absorption of the drug is drug must be present in solution form at the site of absorption. So that's why the solubility is essential. And we can have the interrelationships also between the different processes which occur inside the body. Like when the drug is taken in the form of tablet or capsule, then solubility is essential. If the drug is soluble, then it will dissolve, and if the dissolution is there, then it will absorb. So that's why we can say solubility, dissolution and absorption, these are interdependent phenomena. Again, there is the importance of the solubility in the absorption of the drug. Apart from that, in the determination of the various physicochemical properties like pK of the drug, dissociation constant, then a solubility parameter, so in that case also the knowledge of the solubility is required. So that is another application of the solubility. And finally, the action of the drug is limited due to the poor aqueous solubility, means the drug action depends on the solubility of a drug. Action of drug depends on solubility. Again, if the drug is soluble, obviously then it will dissolve and then it will absorb, and if there is a sufficient absorption, then there will be sufficient action of that particular drug. So again, that action depends on the drug absorption, and drug absorption in turn depends on the solubility. So we can say that the drug action depends on the solubility. If the solubility is poor in the water, then the action of the drug will be limited one. The action of the drug will be less. So these are some of the applications of the solubility, or this is the importance of the solubility. So this clear that what is the need for studying the solubility of drug. The next point is solubility expressions. Now solubility is expressed in different ways. In pharmacopoeia, the solubility is expressed as number of parts of solute dissolved in stated parts of the solution. So that is a way of representation of solubility or expression of solubility in the pharmacopoeia. In the similar manner, the solubility can also quantitatively express in terms of molarity, molality, and percentage. Many times we express the solubility in these terms also. Now, what is a molarity? So, molarity is simply the number of moles of a solute in 1 liter of solution. In 1 liter or 1000 ml of the solution. That is known as a molarity. Similarly, the molality, there is a slight difference between the molarity and molality. In molality, we consider 1 kilogram of the solvent. Instead of 1 liter, we consider 1 kilogram of the solvent. So, number of moles of solute present in 1 kilogram of the solvent is known as molality. And one another way is the percentage, that in that case we consider the 100 ml strength. So solubility can also be expressed as a percentage like 0.5%, 1%, likewise. Now this is a table showing how pharmacopoeia expresses the solubility. So we can observe solubility can be of different types like very soluble, poorly soluble, soluble. This is representing the nature of the drug or the substance and the parts of solvent required for one part of the solute. When we say the very soluble, at that time less than one part of the solute is less than one part of the solvent is required for one part of the solute. When we say soluble, at that time 10 to 30 parts of the solvent are required for one part of the solute. So this is a representation. This is one of the expression of the solubility according to pharmacopoeia. Now after introduction to solubility and different terminologies, we will see the solute solvent interactions or the mechanisms of the solute solvent interaction. Now based on the type of the solvent, the mechanisms of the solute solvent interactions are classified into different types. As we know, there are three types of the solvent like polar solvent, non-polar solvent, and semi-polar solvent. So depending on that, we can classify the mechanisms of the solute solvent interactions also. Just try to understand what are the various interactions, solute solvent interactions, which are involved in the polar solvent. Now solubility of the drug depends on the polarity of the solvent. We know that the polarity of the solvent is expressed by the dipole moment or the dielectric constant. Generally, the polar solvents have greater dipole moment and greater dielectric constant value. And the polarity is nothing but the ability to separate the charges, that is known as a polarity. So solubility of the drug depends on the polarity of the solvent, like which is expressed by the dipole moment or dielectric constant. And as we know, there is one principle in the solubility phenomenon, and that principle is the like dissolves like. Polar solvents dissolve ionic solids and other polar substances. If the nature of the drug is polar, then the solvent selected should be polar in nature. So there will be greater solubility of the polar solute in the polar solvent. For example, water mix in all proportions with alcohol or sugars or other polyhydroxy compounds. So when the alcohol or sugars are added into the water, there is a complete mixing or there is a complete miscibility of the water and alcohol or sugar and water. Now this is because water is highly polar in nature, and these substances like sugars are also polar in nature, or the polyhydroxy compounds are also polar in nature. So that's why there is a greater solubility of such compounds in the water. Now what is the mechanism how these substances become soluble in the water? The first mechanism is the ability of the solute to form hydrogen bonds with the water, and that is important for the solubility. Ability of a solute to form hydrogen bonding with the water. Now you must know what is the meaning of hydrogen bond. Hydrogen bond means the bond which is formed or the attractive force between the electropositive hydrogen atom and electronegative atoms like nitrogen, oxygen. So that bond which is formed between the electropositive hydrogen atom and electronegative atoms like nitrogen, oxygen, that bond is known as a hydrogen bond. And when these solute like sugars or the polyhydroxy compounds or alcohols, these are added into the water, they have ability to form hydrogen bonding with the water, and that's why they are having greater solubility in the water. For example, the water dissolves phenols, alcohols, aldehydes, ketones, amines, all these substances like phenol, alcohol, aldehyde, ketone, amines, that forms bonds, hydrogen bonding with the water. They have ability to form hydrogen bonding with the water. So this is a important type of the mechanism which is involved between the polar solute and the polar solvent. Now you can see in the presentation the hydrogen bonding between the water and alcohol. You can see the hydrogen atom of the water, electropositive hydrogen atom of the water, and electronegative oxygen atom of the alcohol is involved in the formation of the bond that is known as a hydrogen bond, and that's why there is a greater solubility of alcohol in water. So this is one of the important mechanism which is responsible for greater solubility of polar solute in the polar solvent. Apart from that, solubility also depends on structural features such as ratio of polar to non-polar group of the molecule. Now this is important one. Ratio of polar to non-polar groups of the molecule means in the structure of the drug, if the ratio of polar to non-polar group, the functional group which are present in the drug substance, if that ratio is greater, polar to non-polar group ratio is greater, then there is a greater solubility. That means the number of polar group in the given substance in a given drug should be more, so that it will be easily soluble into the polar solvent. So this structural feature, that is ratio of polar to non-polar group, this is also important for the solubility. So as the ratio of polar to non-polar groups increases, there is a corresponding increase in the solubility also. So this is also one of the important consideration for the solubility of a drug in water, or the solubility of polar solute in a polar solvent. Apart from that, the length of non-polar chain of an aliphatic alcohol, length of non-polar chain. Now in this case the non-polarity is increasing. As the number of carbon atoms in the aliphatic alcohol increases, so you will find that the higher alcohols, they have like N-butyl alcohol, pentanol, they have less solubility into the water because the length of non-polar chain increases. The non-polarity in the solute or in the substance is increasing, and that's why there is a less solubility in the polar solvent. So this is also important, the length of non-polar chain of an aliphatic alcohol. Apart from that, the presence of polar group, like in glycerin, we know that additional hydroxyl groups are present, OH groups, in case of glycerin. So these additional hydroxyl groups gives more polarity to the that glycerin. Means the number of polar group in the glycerin are increasing, And as the number of polar groups in the glycerin increases, there is a more solubility of the glycerin in the polar solvent. So its polarity increases as the number of polar group in the glycerin increases, for example, then polarity increases. As the polarity increases, the solubility in the polar solvent also increases. So overall we can conclude that ability of a solute to form hydrogen bonding, then ratio of polar to non-polar groups in the molecule, the length of non-polar chain, and the presence of polar group in the given drug substances. These are the mechanisms which are responsible for the solute solvent interactions in case of the polar solvents. In case of polar solvents. Okay. Now after polar solvent, we will see non-polar solvent. As I have said, like dissolves like, polar solvent, polar solute, non-polar solvent, non-polar solute. So in this case also, generally non-polar solvent, obviously they have less dielectric constant as compared to the polar solvent. If we compare, the water has a dielectric constant of around 78.5, which is the greatest. Whereas the non-polar solvent, they have less dielectric constant as compared to the water. So this is the important characteristics of the non-polar solvent, that is a less dielectric constant. And that's why, because of their low dielectric constant, means ability to separate the charges is less. Hence, these are unable to reduce the attraction between ions of strong and weak electrolyte. If some substance or some solute becomes soluble in the solvent, means there is a reduction of attractive forces between the ions of that particular substance or the atoms and molecules of that particular solute or the substance. But as the non-polar solvent have less dielectric constant, they are not able to reduce the attraction between the ions of strong and weak electrolytes. Hence, if we add the ionic and polar solute, they are not soluble into the non-polar solvent, or only slightly soluble in the non-polar solvent, because they do not have that ability to separate the interionic forces, or they do not have the ability to separate the attractive forces, to reduce the attractive forces between the polar molecules or in the molecules from the polar solute. And that's why there is a less solubility, or the polar or the ionic solutes are not soluble in the non-polar solvent. Now non-polar solvent dissolve non-polar solute, as we have said, like dissolves like. If we add the non-polar solute, then it will easily become soluble into the non-polar solvent. Now what is the mechanism responsible for the solubility of non-polar solute in non-polar solvent? That mechanism is induced dipole interactions. What is induced dipole interaction? Non-polar solvent, they have ability to separate the charges in the molecule. That leads to induction of dipole, separation of partial positive and partial negative charge. That creates the dipole. At one end there is a partial positive charge, and at another end there is a partial negative charge. So non-polar solvent, they separate the partial positive and negative charge in the non-polar solute. So when the charges are separated, there is an induction of dipole, that is known as the induced dipole. And this interaction between the non-polar solvent and induced dipole are responsible for the solubility of the non-polar solute in the non-polar solvent. So these induced dipole type of the interactions is the main mechanism in the solute solvent interaction as far as the non-polar solvents are considered. Induced dipole interactions. Apart from that, the solute molecules are kept in solution by the weak van der Waals and London type of forces. Again, these are the mechanisms, the type of the attractive forces which are present between the solute molecules, which are present in the solution. For example, Oils and fat dissolve in carbon tetrachloride and benzene. Now we know that oils or fats, these are non-polar in nature. These are non-polar in nature because they do not have solubility in water. Their dielectric constant is also less. Dipole moment is also less. So these are non-polar in nature, oils and fats. So they dissolve in carbon tetrachloride, which is a non-polar solvent, or benzene, which is a non-polar solvent. So like dissolves like. Oils and fat easily dissolve in the carbon tetrachloride or benzene. So as far as the conclusion is considered, in case of the nonpolar solvent, induced dipole type of the interactions and the weak van der Waals type or London type forces, these are responsible for the solute solvent interaction in case of nonpolar solvent. The third type of the interaction based on the type of solvent is a semipolar solvent. Now as the name suggests, these solvents are intermediate between polar and non-polar liquids. Or if we compare the polar solvent and non-polar solvent, the properties of the semipolar solvents are intermediate between the polar and non-polar solvent. Now they can induce a certain degree of polarity in a non-polar solvent molecules. Semipolar solvents have ability to induce certain degree of polarity in non-polar solvent molecules. Means they can separate the charges in the non-polar solvent molecules, which is readily polarizable and become soluble. Now due to the induction of the polarity, due to the separation of the charges by the semipolar solvent, the non-polar solvent become readily polarizable, which is readily polarizable actually, and that becomes soluble. Polarizable means the how easily the solvent can be polarized, we can say, or the substance can be polarized. That is known as a polarizable or the polarizability. And these semipolar solvents, they induces polarity in a non-polar solvent molecules, which is readily polarizable and become soluble. For example, ketones, alcohols induce polarity in benzene. Now when benzene comes in contact with the ketones and alcohols, these ketones and alcohols, which are semipolar solvents, they induces polarity in a benzene. They separate the charges in the benzene. That leads to the polarity, induction of the polarity in the benzene. These semipolar solvents, they act as intermediate solvents to bring about the miscibility of polar and non-polar liquids. As I have said, these semipolar solvents have intermediate properties between the polar and non-polar. So the miscibility of the polar and non-polar liquids can be enhanced, can be increased with the help of the semipolar solvents. Now what are the examples of the semipolar solvents? The examples are propylene glycol increases the mutual solubility of water and peppermint oil. Now just try to understand, when peppermint oil is added into the water, their mutual solubility, means solubility of peppermint oil in water, is very less. But when we add the propylene glycol in a certain quantity, in certain amount, then propylene glycol increases the solubility of peppermint oil in water, or the mutual solubility of these two components, water and peppermint oil, is increased due to the addition of the propylene glycol. So propylene glycol is a semipolar solvent which induces the polarity in the non-polar component like peppermint oil, and that's why there is an increase in solubility of the peppermint oil in the water. So propylene glycol has the ability to induce the polarity in the peppermint oil, which is a non-polar one, and that's why there is an increase in solubility of the peppermint oil in the water. So this is a mechanism present as far as the semipolar solvents are considered. Thank you. This 20 मिनिटं झाले आता काय करणार.